What the Eagles have to do at 10 is they've got to stay true to their draft board. They've got to take the best player available.
Dallas still stinks.
Yo, by the way, Dingbat here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. Be true to your draft board. That's what I say. Take the best player available at 10, because that 10 pick is truly valuable. Not just because it's a top 10 pick, but because there's going to be 4 quarterbacks that go in the top 10. Teams are going to be wanting to trade up to that spot. You may get a great offer to trade back. However, whether you trade or not, you've got to take the best player available. Be true to your draft board. Now, before we get into it, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, most throttled Eagles content creator in all of the internet. And if you've been subscribed for a while, I just want to thank you for the support you guys give to me. I want to thank everybody that has purchased a Draft 5 hat for Bijan Robinson coming to the Eagles. That's what we're hoping. That's what we're pushing. But more importantly, the Draft 5 hats are for fun. They're to have fun with, hang out, draft night, come together and say, we don't care about your narratives of don't take your running back in the first round. We don't care about it. We don't care about that narrative because Bijan Robinson is one of the most talented players in the draft, and we've got to be true to our draft board. So if we get a chance to take him, we're taking him. All right, that's what it's about. So if you haven't got it and you want to, we're taking pre-orders now. Click the link in the description and get yourself a Draft 5 hat. Hang out with us on draft night. We will be streaming live the Philly Shakedown podcast. It is going to be an epic, epic night. You don't want to miss it, all right? And it is going to be an epic night. And there's going to be a lot of players that we are going to talk about over the next month. We are going to debate about, and it is going to be very interesting to see what the Philadelphia Eagles do. Now, what I'm about to say is not going to be the most popular thing. It just isn't, and it never is, because it's not the most flashiest of players I'm about to talk about. However, if the Eagles are true to their draft board, if the Eagles want to get the best player available, the truth of the matter is it may be sitting on the offensive side of the ball. Matter of fact, if you look at what the Eagles have done, right? They went out and they signed defensive tackle Street from New Orleans Saints. The Eagles have once again went out in free agency and signed a defensive player. They have spent more money on a defensive side of the ball. That's what they've been doing in free agency. Only one player on the offensive side of the ball came over from another team, Rashad Penny. Other than that, the Eagles haven't done anything to their offense. Eagles' offense can get better. There are 3 positions where you can improve: running back, guard, and a third wide receiver. And if the Eagles want to get better at those positions, it looks like it's going to happen in the draft, because they haven't put any attention in it on free agency or during free agency. So I expect them to go offense in the draft early and often. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but just think about this. What if you get a situation where the Eagles are saying, we don't want to move Cam Jurgens from center to guard. We kind of don't want to do that. We really want to just to learn how to play that one position. And that means you have an open hole at the guard position. What are they going to do? Put Driscoll there? I don't know. I could see a scenario. I can see something where you have Jalen Carter off the board. You even have Bijan Robinson off the board, okay? And these are my top 3 guys: Will Anderson Jr., Jalen Carter, and Bijan Robinson. And the reason I say that over and over again is because I want you to know how my draft board would fall, okay? If one of those guys is going, I go to the next one. If one of those guys is going, I go to the next one. But let's just say, for argument's sake, all those guys are gone, right? What are the Eagles going to do? What can you do? Me personally, and this isn't going to be a popular opinion, but I would probably draft Paris Johnson Jr. or Peter Skwanski. I would draft one of those 2 guys. I believe both of those guys are absolute studs, okay? And they both can play guard. Personally, I like Paris Johnson Jr. a little more. He's 6'6", 313 pounds. He can play left tackle, right tackle, and he's played guard before. He can move all those kind of positions. Squansky's versatile too, okay? And if you get one of those two guys at 10, I know it's not a popular pick. I know. All right, I know people are poo-pooing this pick, but if you got one of those two guys and you plugged him right into right guard, your offensive line is going to be even better than a year ago. Can you imagine? You're going to make a strength even stronger. And I think, especially if it's me and I'm at 10, I'm taking Paris Johnson Jr. That's who I'm taking at 10. Okay, and I'm going to move him right to right guard, and I'm going to let him play between Kelsey and Lane Johnson. It's funny because I talk about the running back position, and people say to me, well, the Eagles have the best offensive line. You don't need a great running back. You have such a good line. They make anybody good, okay? And you can say, yeah, okay, that is true. They do make everybody good. And then you could say the same thing with your offensive line. Jeff Stoutland is a great coach. He can take an average offensive line player, and he can make him better. He can make him better. He can make him good. He can take a so-so guy with some talent and make him a good offensive lineman. But what happens if you take a really talented, young, great, talent-wise offensive lineman and you give him to Stoutland? Stoutland will make him great. He will make him great. It's the same thing with a running back, right? If you have an offensive line that makes a good running back great, what does a great offensive line make a great running back? Historic. That's why I would draft Bijan Robinson, and I've talked so much about it. But the truth is, if he's off the board or the Eagles don't want to go running back, then you got to go offensive line here. I think at 10 you have to. Peter Squansky is another guy. Guy can play guard. Some people think he may be a better guard in the NFL than a tackle, but he's a guy that's a plug-and-play guy. Paris Johnson Jr., a plug-in guy. Both those guys, in my opinion, are studs. And if you got either of those guys and plugged them in, your offense would be that much better. So my draft board kind of looks like this, right? I'll give you my top 5. Here's my top 5 draft board. All right? This means this is the order I would take players if they were available. 1, Will Anderson Jr. He would be my number 1 pick, but he'll be gone. 2, Jalen Carter. He probably will be gone. There's a chance he may be there, and I would take him if he's there. 3 is Bijan Robinson. I think he's that good. He should be there. Then we come into the whole argument of, do the Eagles take a running back at 10? I wouldn't let that stop me. That's what the draft 5 hats are all about, okay? Not letting a position like running back deter you away from taking him at 10. But after him, I have Paris Johnson Jr., and then I have Peter Squansky. That's 4 and 5. Those are my top 5 players, okay? And that's how I would draft it. If Paris Johnson Jr., if he falls, both these linemen may not even be there, okay? They may not even be there. Carter may not even be there. The only guy may be there is Bijan Robinson at that point, which I would take him. But Paris Johnson Jr. at 10 would be an absolute steal. You put Stoutland with him and you let him work with him, forget about it. I mean, think about this. All of a sudden, your offensive line is set up for years. You've got Jordan Mailata at left tackle. You got Landon Dickerson at left guard. You have Cam Jurgens for the future at center. And then you have Paris Johnson. He's either going to play right guard or right tackle. So, right tackle in the future. And you still have Lane for a while. You're set. You're set. Your offensive line is going to be the best offensive line in football for years to come. This is not a popular pick, I know, but it's a tremendously smart pick. It may be the best pick. It may be the right pick. And if I have to, you'll see no complaints from me on taking Squansky or Paris Johnson Jr. I prefer Paris Johnson Jr. But imagine a situation like this. You get Paris Johnson Jr. at 10, and then sitting there at 2 with your second round pick is Jamar Gibbs, and you take him. Now you're going to tell me that your offense is not instantly better with those two guys? It is. You make your strength even better. You score more points. It would be unbelievable, okay? And that's how I would do it. I really truly believe that 2 of the first 3 picks are going to be offense, and I think it very well could be offensive line at 10. And Paris Johnson Jr. would be a tremendously good pick for me if the Eagles take him. Okay. Now you're saying, well, what about the defense? You need defensive players. You do. And I think that next year's draft, I think you're going to see defense more early. And guys like Keion Cansey, Nolan Smith, if they're there in the teens or falling back late in the first round, and you've taken, let's say, Paris Johnson Jr., and you really want to go get them, the Eagles have that option. They could go get those guys. I love Nolan Smith. I love Keion Cansey. I think they're going to be great players. I would love to have those guys on team. But I just think the Eagles are going offense. I think the Cadavius, the signing for Street, I think that's a telltale sign that the Eagles are going offense, because it's another resource, it's another free agent defensive player. So I think the Eagles are going either running back or offensive line, most likely at number 10. And secondly, I think if Jalen Carter falls at 10, they might do that because he's such a beast. He's so talented, top 3 guy in the draft. But let's say you took a Paris Johnson Jr. and Jamar Gibbs. There's other guys that we can find. There are steals at defense that we can find. I'll tell you what, there's a guy I really like, I'm very intrigued with defensively, from Georgia Tech. I don't know if he's going to go late first round, early second. I've seen him mainly in the second round. I've seen some late first rounds. But I'll tell you what, Keion White, to me, has the opportunity to be an absolute stud. He's from physical standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, guy's 6'5", 285 pounds. They say that people his size shouldn't be able to move like that. But he's raw. He was a tight end. He's converted over. And I think he's a defensive player that they say you can move all around. But he's raw. He's got to learn. He's got to learn the fundamentals. You could get a guy like that possibly in the second round. To me, it would be like an A+ draft. So, to me, the Philadelphia Eagles taking an offensive lineman, a lot of people are going to throw that away. They're going to be frustrated by it. They're not going to understand it, and it's going to be disliked. But it may be one of the smartest picks that you can actually make, because Squansky and Paris Johnson, to me, are really good players, and there are some other good defensive players, and it's April. We're going to get into a lot of these players now and stuff like that, but my top 5, that as of right now, and it can change, but as of right now, those are my top 5 guys. Okay, I'm not including quarterbacks in that. Will Anderson Jr., Jalen Carter, Bijan Robinson, Paris Johnson Jr., and Peter Squansky. Those are the guys. And when I say top 5, I mean top 5 for the Philadelphia Eagles and what we need to do, what we're looking for. Those are my top 5. And I think if the Eagles go offensive line, it would not surprise me. Don't let it surprise you. And hopefully, I wouldn't mind if they took Paris Johnson Jr. at 10 and then traded up like that pick suggested, that one mock trade that I showed you guys yesterday, where the Eagles trade up to 18 and take Bijan Robinson. Can you imagine adding those 2 guys? It would be absolutely fantastic. Paris Johnson Jr. and Peter Squansky make a lot of sense for the Eagles. It's not the flashy pick. It's not the great pick. But when you look at what the Eagles are doing with, going defense in free agency so much, to me, as people talk about Nolan Smith, and they talk about Keion Cansey, and they talk about all these defensive players that they're looking at for the Eagles, I think the Eagles are going offense. I think they're going to go with the offensive side of the ball. And those are 2 guys that I really, really like. And I if Nolan Smith did go at 10, I wouldn't mind. Keion Cansey, I wouldn't mind. I have no problem with any of it. I just really think the Eagles are going to go offense. And I think, personally, because of those offensive linemen, I think it's the way to go. But that's just my opinion. With that said, take care. I'll talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's how we vision. We're all just living in it. Man, I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait for football. I cannot wait for football. We're going to have the draft, but that June and that July, it's going to take forever to go by. I cannot wait for the Eagles to come back and play, man. It's going to be fun. And I think the Eagles right now, I think we're best team in the NFC conference. And if we have a good draft and we shore things up, we'll get right back to the Super Bowl. I trust Jalen Hurts. I trust Howie Roseman. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I trust the guy. And it's a beautiful thing. You know, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. And oh yeah, by the way, thank you for all you guys who have pre-ordered your Draft 5 hats. It is going to be awesome. It's going to be such an epic night streaming with those hats on. And I have a feeling, a really good feeling, we're going to have an amazing night. An amazing night. Denzel Washington out.